2 weeks have passed since Election Day, and one of the main concerns many Americans have 1 year out from next year's midterms, which are going to be critical, is the security of our elections. People still have serious concerns. Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Justice, Harmeet Dhillon, sent monitors this past Election Day to New Jersey and California. You guys have actually made some of the biggest steps in securing our elections, but a lot of people are still really concerned about the volume of mail-in ballots.
Well, no, that's fair. And what they need to understand is that under our election laws, currently as interpreted by the Supreme Court, it is the states that make those laws. And so I know it would be convenient for everyone to hope that President Trump, who's a great president, and the Attorney General Pam Bondi would be able to snap their fingers and change things nationally. But that's literally what the Democrats tried to do when Nancy Pelosi was trying to pass H.R. 1 in the last administration. And we don't really want that. We have a system of federalism. So it really relies on people to vote at the state level and get better laws at that local level for now. Now, I think there are some things that Congress could do regarding federal funding and having better standards, but they haven't done that. I've gone and testified in Congress, and maybe one day they will do those things. But for now, what we can do at the Department of Justice is we have jurisdiction over several federal civil rights laws involving voting, and we are vigorously enforcing those, including in this last election over the objections of a couple of blue states. But we did send election monitors where they were requested, and I could have sent more if more people had requested them.
Yeah, and who has a problem with people watching to make sure that they're good? But anyway, I want to get to this. UC Berkeley has condemned the violence following last week's protest and is promising to take, quote, appropriate measures, whatever that means, against those who violated campus rules. I look at this as like, okay, but the damage has been done. Like, they've intimidated people. They accomplished their goal. But these people don't go to jail en masse.
Well, look, UC Berkeley's relationship with the First Amendment is kind of like, it's like stages of grief. Their initial response was, this was a mostly peaceful event. You know, we can all see with our own lying eyes, it was not a mostly peaceful event. And on top of that, the venue was only half full, because UC Berkeley insisted that the Turning Point USA chapter there locally give tickets out in a way that allowed these Antifa thugs to actually get them and, you know, take up the space, which makes no sense and is not how the preferred way of doing it. When they got a letter from the Department of Justice and an investigation was open, they suddenly changed their tune. They have been very they've hired outside counsel. They've been extremely conciliatory. And when I went there on Thursday last week to interview the head of the Turning Point chapter and some other witnesses and meet with the FBI and the U.S. Attorney, they graciously allowed us some space on campus to do that and even to hold a little impromptu press conference. So I would say that at the top level, UC Berkeley is cooperating with us. But what my suspicion is that there's this layer of administrators who just hate free speech by conservatives, and they show it in how they administer, how they allow these kids to have their events. And so we take this very seriously. I personally sued UC Berkeley in 2017 as a lawyer for Young America's Foundation when similar stuff happened over there, and they had to settle that lawsuit after a federal judge refused to dismiss the case. So Berkeley's on notice. It has been on notice for years, and we at the DOJ, under this administration, are going to make sure that every student on that campus has equal access to hearing viewpoints of any kind on that campus, and the same goes for campuses all over America.
Totally fair point. Here's the third thing that you're actually involved with right now. A 55-year-old Maryland man has pled guilty to mailing threatening letters and postcards to more than a dozen Jewish institutions in Maryland, Virginia, D.C., and elsewhere over the past 18 months, suggesting that buildings would be destroyed and people would be killed. Look, he faces a maximum, I think it's like 169 years in prison, 3 years of supervised release if he gets out, and a $5,600,000 fine. Look, you can't go around threatening people, but sometimes people are getting let out on bail for actually killing people.
No, you're absolutely right. There's a huge dichotomy between what happens in woke jurisdictions run by the left and what happens in the United States Department of Justice Civil Rights Division run by principled conservatives who believe in the rule of law. These are our laws. It is illegal in America to intimidate people because of their religion. And I, as the head of the Civil Rights Division so far, have brought numerous cases involving attacks on churches, synagogues, and many other houses of worship, and we're meeting with people of all religions and all faiths and telling them that's the First Amendment, and that's very important. And so we're going to protect those rights of everybody to worship freely in our country, and we have no tolerance for this type of thing, because when someone starts with this, sometimes people end up dead, and we're not going to tolerate that in America. Right. And so everyone of faith should feel very comfortable and confident that this Department of Justice under Pam Bondi and under this administration under President Trump stands with all people of faith in America.
Yeah, and you want to talk about it? Be happy to have you on this show and say we disagree and we can talk all day long, but you start blocking that stuff and sending threatening letters. People like you step in. Harmeet Dhillon, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
He loves the Constitution. He fights for what's right. He hates the bad guys. He's a freedom warrior. He's your freedom warrior. Watch Carl Higbie every weekday on Newsmax.